Highland Park Magnus Single Malt Scotch. Worth buying? Let's find out. Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video I'm going to do a review of the Highland Park Magnus Single Malt Scotch. But before I get into this, here is a little bit about it. The whiskey is named after founder Magnus Eunson. It's only available in North America. It is a non-aged statement. It was matured predominantly in seasoned sherry American oak cask. It's bottled at 40% alcohol by volume and sells for anywhere between $24 and $42 in the United States. Alrighty, so what are seasoned sherry casks? What does that term mean? Initially, or originally, the sherry casks that were used were actually casks that came up from Jerez, Spain, into Scotland. There were Scotch businessmen who owned bodegas down in Spain, such as Sandeman. So these casks basically laying around the dock, sherry casks. What are we going to do with these things? Hey, I know, let's put some whiskey in it and see how they come out, and boom, there goes your sherry cask aged or finished whiskeys. Now, eventually, Jerez banned the shipment of casks and required the wines to be bottled before getting shipped out. Boom, now your casks are gone. They're no longer sitting there on the docks. Where are you going to get your casks? Well, the sherry casks that are used for aging whiskeys are not going to be the casks that come out of a Solera. Sherry is aged in a Solera system, which is basically fractional blending through a series of barrels. The last one is actually called the Solera. So the barrels are never emptied completely. They go from cask to cask to cask when they're determined that they're ready to move on to the next cask. Right? The first one is called a Codera. You're definitely not getting those because those are very, 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 very valuable casks. Casks that have spent a lot of time interacting with the sherry. So if it's not the casks that are being left on the docks, for shipment because they're only shipping in bottles, and it's not coming out of the Solera, where are they getting these casks from? Essentially, after sherry has come out of a Solera or just some really, really young sherry, it's put into a new oak to season it. Usually it's going to be some inexpensive sherry. It's not going to be your higher end stuff. And the main purpose you're trying to do is just extract some of the sherry characteristics into the wood, and then it's sold off as, usually it's not like going to be the high end sherries. It's usually going to be your fairly inexpensive sherries. That is essentially seasoning a cask. So when you read from a distillery or a bottling on a box for a whiskey using only the finest sherry cask, well, what the heck does that mean? Unless they're telling you, hey, this came out of something that was, it had been used in a Solera, or it spent X amount of years interacting with the wine, then you're getting exactly what I just described. Now, there are a number of distilleries, particularly the owners of Macallan and Highland Park. They do have contracts in which they own the cask from beginning to end and are spending some time in sherry. So, in comparison to some others, I think they probably do get some better casks. But again, like I just described, that is essentially what a seasoned cask is. It's not something that was originally created just for aging sherry and then as a secondary use was being used for whiskey. Its full intent from the beginning was to be used for aging whiskey. Alrighty, now let's get into this whiskey. I don't know if there's any color added coloring or any chill filtering, but here goes the color. It's sort of a light golden copper in color. On the nose, it's not a huge nose. Medium to medium minus intensity. I get a waft of smoke. I get chocolate covered cherries, vanilla cream, fudge, dried plums, and that's about it on the palate. On the palate, fairly soft, very sweet, very fruit forward. Chocolate covered cherries up front. maybe a little bit of fudge. So going from regular chocolate, maybe a dark chocolate with cherries, to going into a fudge. Caramels, loads of vanilla. There's a lot of that red sherry note showing up there. It actually seems like a ruby port. It's not a port, but it's that juicy of a red fruit character to it. Not a whole lot of transition from the front to the middle into the finish. You get the same thing all the way through. I would say a medium level of smoke. Fairly well integrated. Not a lot of depth, not a lot of breadth. There is a youthfulness in the middle. It's not quite green. I think the peat smoke is covering the youth fairly really well. It's one of the great uses for peat, is to cover the youth of a spirit. But the youthfulness of the spirit is, I think, showing up in the mid palate. I'm looking for some spice, and I'm not getting any spice. Vanilla, in terms of something other than fruit or earth notes or floral notes or something like that, some of the characteristics, I get a lot of vanilla. I'm not getting a lot of spice. Typically, if you get vanilla and it's just from the interaction of the cask, and obviously get some baking spices, I'm not getting it. Not a whole lot of transition. What you get in the front, in the middle, and the finish is the same. Not a lot of depth. It's very, I would say it's more sweet. I like a sherry cask whiskey that starts off sweet and then finishes dry. I think pretty much stays sweet all the way through. A lot of fudge, sort of chocolate covered raisins in there as well. Medium bodied, medium length finish. So what do I think? I think it's just an okay whiskey. It's not a wowzer. Doesn't make me sad. If someone gave me a bottle, I'd say thank you very much. I wouldn't want to pay more than $40 for it. I think this is a $30 to $35 whiskey. If you're looking for a whiskey to actually use for cocktails, ba-boom, that's probably its best use for it. I've used it in Manhattans, old fashions. Add a little bit of smoke character to your cocktails. I've used it for that. I think it works really well for that. If you are new to peat, or you know someone who's new to peat and they need something that's an introduction, I think it works well for that. The sad thing really is some of the prices are actually over $40 in the United States, and this is a North American only bottle. It's the amount of money this is going for now. Just 4 years ago, you used to get really nice, 12-year-old age statement. I mean, the Macallan 12-year-old was like $46, which is close to what this is selling for now. But just in 4 years, prices have jumped. Of course, tariffs and all that. That I'm thinking, wow, this is a bargain, low budget, affordable whiskey. We used to get a lot more for our money just a very short period of time ago. And so I really think if pricing this, I'd put this in terms of value play, I'd put this $20 to $25. $20 to $25. I'm thinking of other whiskeys, although they're not a single malt, that in terms of the intensity and layers of flavor and the breadth of flavor and the development, all that, you could go with a blended whiskey. You go with a Johnny Walker Black, I think, would be a tough competition for this. And Johnny Walker I can typically get for $23 and $25. In fact, almost some characteristics on the mid palate remind me a little bit of a Johnny Walker Black. So it's a nice whiskey. It's not a bad whiskey. It's not offensive. It's just sort of okay. What would I give in terms of score? I'm gonna go like a solid 85 points. A solid 85 points. Alrighty. If you like watching my videos, if you've not yet subscribed, I ask that you subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified when I go live or post a new video. And if you are one of my Patreons, I want to thank you very much. Until next time, Slanjiva.